Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale issued a public statement drawing national attention to the increasing number of women imprisoned abroad over trafficking offense. The statement highlighted concerns about the recruitment of Kenyan young women into the international narcotics network and their subsequent exposure to foreign legal system. Khalwale emphasized that many of these women had left Kenya seeking employment to better their opportunities and their lives, only to fall victims to organized criminal groups that exploited their vulnerability for illegal purposes. According to the information shared by the senator, young women found themselves acting as carriers, commonly referred as trucks or drugs mules for international traffickers. These women often face severe legal consequences in foreign countries once apprehended. Khalwale pointed out that this severity of punishment contrasted sharply with the lack of accountability experienced by the individuals orchestrating the criminal operation. He stressed that those profiting from the trade rarely face legal repercussion, while the women bore the brunt of punishment in an unfamiliar judicial system. The senator outlined that the involvement of the women in a trafficking scheme frequently began with the promises of lucrative employment or financial gain. Once abroad, many discover that they were under the control of substance operation managed by large network groups that handle the logistics of transport and distribution. Khalwale emphasized that these young women were the most exposed to legal risk, while the organizers who coordinate the scheme remain largely invisible to the law enforcement authorities. Khalwale also highlighted the impact on families in Kenya, noting that the incarnation of daughters caused significant emotion and financial strains. Families often struggle to understand the legal process in foreign jurisdiction and to maintain communication with loved ones serving lengthier sentences. The senator underscored that this suffering was frequently overlooked in public discourse despite the growing number of arrests being reported internationally. In his statement, Khalwale raised concerns about the imbalance in the enforcement of justice within the global narcotic system. He argued that the masterminds behind drug networks were rarely held accountable, while the carriers, often young women, face the harshest consequences. The senator called for legal system to extend scrutiny to all individuals involved in trafficking operation, including those who finance the coordinated and benefited from the trade. Khalwale further noted that the cases of Kenyans detained abroad continue to surface regularly. He described how traffickers systematically recruit young women, leveraging promises on economic stability and employment. According to him, the operation were designed to protect high-level organizers by making the carriers the most visible and vulnerable participants during arrest and prosecution. He further explained the tactics employed by international trafficking network, stating that young women often specifically targeted due to their economic vulnerability, offer of transport and financial gain often mask the criminal nature of the activity they were being recruited for. Once the women accepted this offer, they were placed under strict control within the network with limited knowledge of the severe legal consequences awaiting them abroad. Khalwale described the challenges faced by detained women in foreign legal system. He pointed out that carriers encounter language barrier, unfamiliar legal framework, and limited access to legal representation. These factors compounded the difficulties of navigating foreign justice processes and left the women isolated from family support. He highlighted that the traffickers orchestrating the operation rarely provide assistance to those who were arrested, leaving them to face prolonged legal battle independently. The senator also focused on the conditions experienced by the detained women during imprisonment. He noted that they endure harsh environment, emotional distress, and lengthier period without meaningful contact with their loved ones. Families in Kenya and other African countries were left to cope with ongoing uncertainty regarding the process of cases while attempting to maintain communication with their relatives under challenging circumstances. Khalwale emphasized that these hardships underscore the need for accountability at a higher level within trafficking network. Khalwale's statement called on authorities and the public to recognize the responsibilities of those who profit from drugs trafficking. He insisted that the focus should extend beyond the carriers to include the organizers and the financiers who orchestrate the operation. The senator stressed that the punishment not only the carriers perpetuated injustice and left the most powerful individual unscathed. He highlighted the importance of pursuing a comprehensive accountability to ensure that all participants, regardless of their position within the network, face appropriate legal consequences. He elaborated on the urgency of addressing the disparity between the treatment of the carrier and the organizers. The senator stated that the continued impunity of those ruling or running international drugs operation allowed illegal network to flourish, while the young women who carried out the work remained exposed to extreme penalties. Khalwale emphasized that the legal system must recognize and address these imbalances to ensure fairness and justice for those mostly affected. In concluding his statement, Khalwale urged decisive action to identify, apprehend, and prosecute individuals responsible for directing and financing drug trafficking networks. He called for an equitable treatment of all parties involved, insisting that the big boys or high-level beneficiaries of those networks should face the same consequences as the women serving sentences abroad.